Kory, so tell me, because I found you just via Instagram, which is, I have an episode actually about spirituality on the internet legitimate. Like there's a whole algorithm, and are we just getting fed things in a echo chamber, or do we really have people pop up into our lives that are meant to be? And I think sometimes that actually is true, where I go down a rabbit hole on something else and then I see somebody else that's connected in a different adjacent sort of way, and I'm like, I want to talk to her. So that's how I found you. But you do sky watching and have read, kind of was inspired by Chris Bledsoe's book UFO of God, right, which is being delivered today. So that's how much I know about the book, in terms of, I haven't read the whole thing, but I've listened to lots of podcasts about his story. And so can you, for people who don't know anything, can you kind of give me some background on what you do and how you got into it?
Yeah, so my life has become kind of crazy. I pretty much skywatch for a living now. This is what I do full time. I found Chris Bledsoe's story via a podcast. I had never heard of him. I wasn't very deep into the whole UFO alien phenomenon. And I wasn't a super spiritual person. I was a bit agnostic. I had a feeling that there was something going on out there just based on my own weird paranormal experiences in the past. So when I saw this interview with Chris, I thought, wow, I feel like there's a huge connection here, that spirituality and science or extraterrestrials, they're not separate, they're actually connected. So I decided to get Chris's book. And I started reading it on January 1st of 2024, so I started the new year off right.
Cool, cool. I
And
love that.
his book was just super impactful in my life and inspired me to go skywatching on my own. And I've been skywatching for only a year. So, hopefully this story can inspire others to see themselves even months or a year from starting their skywatching journey and how far they can come.
And so Chris's book is about his story, and that he was fishing one day in North Carolina and he feels sort of removed. He wants to go remove himself from the group because he just is sort of like, just needs some alone time, I guess is how I understand it. And he walks off and then he sees these orbs. He thinks it's the setting sun, but wait, there's two setting suns and that's not right. And then once he interacts with it, he thinks he's just gone for 20 minutes. How long is he actually gone for?
I believe about 4 hours.
4 hours, and then the group tries to find him, and then they have their own experiences with these orbs. And there's much more to the story, but after he comes out on the other side, he now has a relationship with these beings and orbs. And it's not just an orb, there's been other beings that have come from it that he's again built sort of a rapport with. So when
Hmm.
you read the book, you were inspired, and you're starting, and he lives nearby, right? His son leads some of these groups that you
Yeah,
go
so he
skywatching.
lives, I'm living in Florida right now, but
Oh,
they live
okay.
in North Carolina. So I read his book in January of last year, and they had mentioned that they were going to have a UFO of God book signing and have their own booth at a festival in Wilmington, North Carolina
Okay.
called Azalea Festival. So when I saw that, I just had this voice in my head of like, if you don't go now and meet him, like, you might not have the opportunity in the future. So I told myself, like, I'm just gonna go. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends to go with me. I just decided, okay, I'll be that crazy person and I'll go. And I'm glad I took that leap because I met Chris and the whole family, and they're such incredible people. And also, all of the people that join this group and meet up at these festivals are really like-minded people. It feels a lot like these are the people that I belong with. They see me for who I am. You create a beautiful connection. And so, anyway, at Azalea Fest is when we skywatched for the first time. And I was just so inspired. I had to go out and do it on my own and found that, wow, this is crazy. You can do this on your
Do
own.
you have a group in Florida that you do it with, or is it just you when you go camping and
It's usually just me, but very recently, when I was skywatching alone, I had a particularly profound experience with just seeing like constant triangles going across the sky and four of them going across the sky. And I speak out loud to them and they communicate back to me a lot. And I felt this message come through in this moment of now's the time to start opening it up to other people that want to experience this. So very recently I opened it up on my Instagram. I've met a handful of really cool people and we've had some successful sky watches. So yeah, I don't have like a group in particular, but I've met some
But you're
really
getting
cool.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you said I'm inspired to reach out, and Laurie, I'm gonna tag you in this video because there's a group that meets for yoga on the beach at particularly full moons or the new moon too. So that might be even better when it's darker.
Hmm.
And I want to see if Laurie will help me advertise. Okay, if you're open to it and want to stick around after yoga, we're already here. And I loved your tips on Instagram, and we're going to get to that in a second,
Hmm.
about letting them, the orbs, the higher dimensional beings, know the time and the place. And even though time doesn't operate the same over there, give them an idea where you're going to be and sort of set an appointment and see if it works.
Yeah,
So
let them
you
clear their
inspired me
schedule.
for that. You totally inspired this idea. So we'll see if Lori's open to it, and we can get something going and I can report back. But speaking of crazy people and going to conferences, the Psy Games are coming up in Charlottesville, Virginia. And same exact thing happened to me that you just described with, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to go by myself and I'm going to see what comes of it. And my husband's like, okay, see ya, have fun. And you said you're going as well. So I've already met a friend.
Yeah, I'm super excited. You're going to meet a ton of really great people. And there's a reason that we get pulled to do these things, right? When you have that little voice in your head telling you to do something over and over again, it's usually for a really special reason. So I think that it's going to be a great time and you'll meet a lot of cool people.
And we're going to skywatch there too, apparently. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, for sure. I have some friends that want to sky watch, so we'll find a place and we'll get together and hopefully we'll see something cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we keep saying Skywatch, so let's explain what that means and how do you like prepare and why? Why do you want to communicate with the beings?
Okay, so sky watching is when, at least for me, it's when you go to a dark area, get away from the light pollution, and you're trying to connect with a higher dimensional being, something that is, I can describe as a light being. Some people believe that they're angelic. That's kind of my belief, that they're spiritual beings. They're not just in the sky, they're with you all the time, which is like a big message I want people to take away from this is that they can hear you at all times. They're right beside you. They're your guardians. So when you go out sky watching, you're connecting your heart with your mind. So you need to open your heart. And if that's hard for you to try to conceptualize, like, well, how do I open my heart? The easiest way to start is to just close your eyes and literally envision your heart opening or like doors opening and light coming through. And visualization is really, really helpful. So just imagine a connection from your heart to your mind. Imagine projecting your thoughts into the sky and communicating with these beings, and then just being patient and keeping your eyes peeled for them because more often than not, they'll show up for you.
Your videos are the most incredible I've ever
Oh,
seen.
thank you.
I mean, the ones where you're like, oh, hey, you're just being a little dim, and
Yeah,
it goes super bright.
yeah, they're like, what are
And
you talking about?
there's no airplanes. I mean, where people are like, is it not? I mean, go and see Kory's videos. I'm obviously gonna link all your stuff in the show notes, but
Well, you can see an orb coming out of that bright light. I don't even know like
yes.
what's happening. If I always wondered if some of the orbs act as vehicles for the other orbs. And
Hmm.
so that was something that I had never experienced before, and I really haven't experienced it since those couple of days that I was sky watching alone in Wilmington. But it just explodes with this bright light, and you can clearly see another orb comes out, and they were doing it all night long. It was really beautiful. But yeah, that's not a plane at all.
No. And the fact that it was responsive is the
Yeah.
most incredible part and
Hmm.
validating too.
Hmm.
Well, how has it enriched your life? If it's because there's so many people that would say you don't know what you're playing with, but you do know. Like
Hmm.
that's the difference, and you might not be able to. How do you explain that?
Well, I on occasion do hear the whole like, well, demons can masquerade as beings of light. And it's just really sad to hear people say that because that's just their fear response. I also wonder, like, do you just think that demons exist? You don't think there's a possibility that you can connect with angels or higher dimensional beings? But first and foremost, I'm praying to God when they appear. I've never heard of demons having the power to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you're having a direct conversation with God, you would imagine that God's angelic beings would appear to you. So, ever since starting this journey, first and foremost, I didn't have a relationship with God prior to reading Chris's book. Chris's book inspired me to start praying, which was a little awkward for me at first because I'm like, hey, God, it's me. Haven't talked to you in a really long time, don't really know how to do this. So, I recommend for anybody who is uncomfortable starting a prayer journey and they don't know where to begin, it's kind of just like beginning a relationship with anybody, right? At first, it could be a little awkward. You're building trust and faith with each other. But if you continue with it, and if you, especially incorporating gratitude, which is another enrichment in my life that has come from this experience, is truly being grateful for my life and the good and even the bad. When I'm having a bad day, I pray to God and I say, thank you for this day because it really, really reminds me of what a good day feels like. It teaches me a lesson on something.
Mm-hmm.
So it has benefited my life in the sense that I'm a lot closer to God and I'm very, very grateful for my life. And I've learned that through the power of prayer, you can really change the world around you. You can change your life. You can manifest beautiful things to happen in your life. And when I've had a bad day or I've had a conflict with someone or something bad has happened and I pray on it and I say, God, send light and love to this person. And, that he always pulls through for me in that sense. And when you, instead of blaming God for bad things that happen to you, if you ask God in those moments to guide you, he will. So, I think a huge portion of my life when something bad would happen, I would be like, well, if there is a God, then why is he doing this to
Mm-hmm.
me? You can't blame God for human problems. But if you reach out to God in those moments and say, God, I'm envisioning the most positive outcome. Send light and love to this situation, and this is what I hope to get from it. And usually within a day or two, it turns around for the positive. So, yeah, those are my big takeaways.
That's incredible. And so then the sky watching is just icing on the cake or like the cherry on top, right? That you get
Yeah.
a physical manifestation. And this is a whole new twist for me in that we're kind of talking about these higher dimensional beings from a more spiritual standpoint rather than these potential beings from a different planet. Like not I don't think that many people make the connection that they could be both and.
Hmm.
That what we think as aliens actually could be what other people think are angels. And who's
Yeah.
to say that that's so far fetched?
Right. And I don't even know if it's so much like, oh, they're from another planet or extraterrestrial. It kind of seems like they've been here the whole time. That's what a lot of like the people that are at the forefront of this whole UFO media stuff, they usually say like they've been here the whole time. And when you look at throughout human history, and you look at all the drawings on the walls and the caves and the hieroglyphics and all the stuff that they wrote down, there's a lot of ties to what sound like aliens, but they revered them a lot as like gods and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been here with us, guiding humanity for a really, really long time. And I think that this is the first generation of humans, the last, what, I don't know, a few hundred years or whatever, that we have not been connecting with this phenomenon. And we've been told that it's not real. And I think that if more people understood that this is a real phenomenon and that they love us first and foremost, they want to guide us and they want this connection, then it would really help people tap into their spiritual side and help them connect with God, for sure.
Yeah, and as a reminder too, how useless labels can be.
Hmm.
Alien, extraterrestrial, angel. What is the label really? Humans need the label, right, to be able to
Hmm.
grasp onto it. But what if you release the labels and then just tried to connect and see where that takes you? That's sort of
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Just get rid of the label and open your heart and mind to like, hey, whatever this is, let me know. And hopefully they show themselves.
Yeah, no, I think that's an incredible point of view. I think so often the media portrays the aliens from a different planet, full disclosure, when are we going to get when is the government going to tell us what this is? And really, to your point, it's sort of not a joke, but like actually it's all been here all along and it's always available to you and it's right in front of you. And I think that actually it's sort of the Occam's razor to the whole thing. It's like the most probable, simplest answer too.
Mm-hmm.
So that I love this point of view. And all right, so you say in your Instagram post you give some tips. So how if we want to do this on our own, how would you suggest getting started?
I would say you first need to start with pure intentions and no expectations. So, what I mean by that is having pure intentions means that you're recognizing and you believe the fact that there are higher dimensional beings out there. So, if you're not convinced, or you're looking for something to be proven to you, it's not gonna happen, right? I think of it as like a human to human thing. Like, do you want to have to prove yourself to someone? Do you want to have to meet other people's expectations? So it's important to go into these sky watches with no expectations whatsoever. Just tell yourself, oh, I'm gonna have a really nice night at the beach, or I'm gonna have a nice night out in this field or in the woods or camping or whatever you're doing. And as long as you can walk away having a beautiful night in nature, then you won't be disappointed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you experiencing the orbs will just be the cherry on top. So that's what I mean by pure intentions and no expectations with that. The next thing that I would recommend would be implementing prayer every day, and talking to them. And I know that meditation can help as well. I meditated like a lot in the beginning. I don't do that as much before my sky watches now, but it's always really great to pray to God and go through your gratitudes. And that's what I do every single day. Go down the list of things that you're really grateful for. It's really, really important to build gratitude with God, because I believe that God would be more likely to fill your cup with blessings and overflow your life with blessings if you show gratitude for what He's already given you. Meditation is good too, because it really helps level out your mind and your body. And even if you just take a few moments to sit down, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, clear your mind, leave aside all of your worries and the things that are bothering you, and just be present in the moment. The next thing that I would recommend, which we already touched on just for a moment, was speaking directly to the beings and letting them know where you're going to be at what time and what day. I don't know why this came to me, but before I went on my first sky watching trip, before I even ever saw the orbs myself, I booked the camping trip and then I prayed every single day leading up to it. And I was like, this is where I'm going to be on these days. I'm going to be sky watching at night. Please, if you're willing, connect with me, show yourself so that I can understand this connection better. And it worked, and I've been implementing that, and I've been giving that advice to a lot of people, and they come back and tell me that it worked. So I don't know if it's just establishing that level of communication or building intention every single day, but that is a really helpful tool. I don't think anybody should skip that step at all. So, I talked a little bit about opening your heart and your mind, and it's really important to have a good mindset when you are sky watching. So, thinking about light and love, thinking about good things. Don't worry about all of the things that are bogging you down day to day. And try to connect with your inner child is really, really important. And plus, it's just fun. Like, let's
Mm-hmm.
not be an adult for a while, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really helpful to think about love, think about I love you, I love God, and you think about the people that you love and happy memories and anything that just really increases your vibes, so to speak, your vibrations, your mood, and that will really set you up well for sky watching. Another big tip that I have, of course, is often the most difficult. I have faced it myself, and that is to be patient.
Mm.
There's been a lot of times where I've gone out sky watching and I've waited around for hours and nothing has happened, and I just hear this little voice in my head that's like, wait 10 more minutes, wait 15 more minutes. And it paid off, because you just have to be patient with it. And over time, you're gonna learn like what is the best time for me to go sky watching. It's not right after the sun goes down most of the time. The first 2 to 3 hours after the sun goes down is kind of what I call satellite territory. So, you're probably going to be tricked a lot by satellites that go by. So, you really want to wait later into the evening, into the night. But as you go along this journey, you will learn what is best for the area that you live in and just your own connection with these beings. There's been plenty of times where I've gone outside right after sunset and I see them. There's times where I've seen them at 3 in the morning, so it's really a toss up. And I recommend going to somewhere that's very dark, get away from all the noise, get away from the people and the light pollution. I go to just the darkest beach near me, which is still pretty, light from buildings and the street and stuff. Unfortunately, I live in a really populated city type area, but it works for me. And it's really funny because I say get away from all of the people and distractions because I can't even tell you how many times I've been sky watching and the orbs they're popping off and they're going crazy over the water, over the horizon, and then somebody starts combing the beach in front of me with a bright flashlight and then the orbs will stop. And a lot of times when other people's energies come into the mix or people that distract you from the connection, they'll quiet down for a little bit. And then, of course, right when that person rounds the corner and is out of my sight, they're back again. So those are my biggest tips and tricks. And also, I would say the first few times that you go sky watching, it's really important for you to go in with a learning mindset. So learn what planes look like, learn about the flight patterns near you, learn about the satellites and what they look like. If you'd like, you can download a satellite tracker as well. I don't even look above me that much anymore because they will pick a part in the sky that's more above the horizon and they will stick to that spot, which is also kind of cool because you're like, okay, that's not a satellite, that's just right above the water
Yeah.
or right above the
And thank you
horizon.
for like helping me enjoy this and not like be
Yes,
stretched the
yes,
whole time and I can actually just sit in a chair and look at I like the idea of the
exactly.
horizon because like you
That's
said.
what I say too, is like I think
Yeah.
that they're also just helping out your neck. I mean, I've seen plenty of orbs go overhead too, but when you're really settling down for an extensive sky watch for a couple of hours, they will appear over the horizon. And I've seen a lot of other people that have that connection too, right over the horizon. So just go into it your first few sky watches with a learning mentality, just being open. So, because you don't want to label every light in the sky as a light being,
Hmm.
right? Because not every single light in the sky is an orb. It takes away from the experience when you just start saying, oh, that's an orb, that's an orb, that's an orb. Go into it with an open mind and just a healthy level of skepticism, and you'll learn a lot in your first few sky watches. So that is, I know I just went on for a while.
No, that was so amazing. And, thank goodness for the AI show notes because my nerd self wants to like outline them and we'll have an automatic way to do that. So it'll all be there.
Awesome.
It's going to be awesome. And all right, so when you're talking about setting the appointment, I feel like that also taps into when you're saying build a relationship. Like if I were like, hey, Kory, you agreed you could talk to me. How about we chat like right now? And you'd be like, what? Hang on, can we schedule this? And
Hmm.
again, it's laughable because they're operating on a whole different spectrum than we can even begin to understand, right? But maybe there's something to that where you're respecting them as
Hmm.
it's more of a respect thing. Like, hey, how about this date and time? And I'll remind
Absolutely.
you. So
Yeah.
I think that tip is so good.
Yeah, it goes also into the have no expectations, because and this is all people think that you're summoning them and
Mm.
it's not like that. They have free will just like we do. And so if I just walk outside, I mean, believe me, every night I walk outside of my backyard and I'm like, hi, if you're there, can you give me a
Right. Like an
massage?
invitation, like, or I feel like it's like the kid in the treehouse with the can and the string. Like, okay, I'm here. Are you here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, don't have that expectation that they're just going to show up when you snap your finger. And respect, I really love that you brought that up because respect is huge. I'm always very respectful with the way that I talk to them, and that doesn't mean that I don't get playful with them.
Hmm.
And it's embarrassing, but I sing to them too when I'm out there. Do you know the song Mambo Number 5?
Yes.
I have my own rendition. It's called Orby number five.
So
A little bit
fun.
of Orby in my life. You know, you get playful with it, but respect is huge. I mean, speak to them just like you would want to be spoken to. I have heard a lot of people be a little disrespectful with the way that they speak to the orbs, being like, why don't you just show? Or,
Oh,
the clouds don't mean anything to you guys. You can just do it. Like, what's going on? And there are just a lot of different, nicer, more respectful ways that you can say these things or just not say them at all and be patient. So, yeah, that's really important. Respect.
yeah. Well, and then the inner child piece that you went on, I really resonated with that. Just in terms of a different way that people might not have heard of to like go relax and be in nature and disconnect, and that should open your heart in ways that we just get so busy that that's not
Yeah.
like on the list of fun, just sitting outside. But when you have an activity per se to do and a mission in a way, but again, a mission is loose because we have to come in with no expectations. But
Right.
how fun is that? Oh, it makes me think of like a child on Christmas Eve when they go outside and they want to go see if they can see Santa and the reindeer.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that
yeah.
feeling of like expectation but excitement and like
Hmm.
maybe we'll make a connection. So how
Hmm.
fun is this
Yeah.
activity? And that's to me, there's so much people can say if they want to judge this whole idea, of course, right? But if you just look at it as something super fun and an ability to connect even with the people that you're going with, and
Hmm.
I bet sharing that experience with other people is something else.
Right. That's what I've said at the last couple sky watches that I've done is like, I can't guarantee that they'll come. Chris Bledsoe says that all the time.
Mhm.
No person can guarantee that they come. But if you enter the sky watch with the mentality of like, oh, I made a few new friends tonight. I got to be outside. I got to leave all of my worries behind, and it's a beautiful night, then you're going to walk away feeling better anyway. And then the orbs are just going to be a huge added bonus for sure.
Oh, I love that so much. Okay. Any other, I'm trying to think what else we can talk about. Can you share some of your experiences that other than, we talked about the orbs, like giving birth to each other, basically, is what it looks like,
Yeah.
which is pretty incredible. But when you talk about communicating with them, have you gotten some like crazy messages? I mean, any other experiences you have that you want to share?
Yeah, it's hard to even narrow it down, but
Sorry.
no, 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 you're good. So, yeah, as far as experiences in communications go, I've learned that if you have someone in your life that's going through a tough time and maybe they need some light and love, if you ask the orbs and say, oh, my mom is going through a tough time, or my best friend's going through a tough time. Can you please send an orb, send some light and love to them? That more often than not, they won't even just send one orb, they'll send multiple because they want to send light and love to people. So that's something that I really enjoy doing. And of course, I don't share those videos because those are special for those people.
Hmm.
But yeah, they respond to that kind of stuff. So I like to do that all the time. But so I guess I can share a little bit about when I had my first really profound experience. I went out sky watching with my husband. We went camping. This was right after meeting Chris, and I was just obsessed. I had a couple of really cool experiences at Azalea Fest. There were two separate times, two nights in a row where we saw orbs, and I pointed out an orb to the person next to me, and it just went and expanded and got super bright and lit everybody's faces up. And I left Azalea Fest being like, what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. Like, don't look into it. You're not special. And I also told myself, well, what other person there had that experience? Like, I was obsessing about it and thinking, what are they trying to tell me? So I just really needed to go out on my own and figure out if I can do this on my own. So my husband and I went camping, and we ended up seeing the orbs just at such a larger capacity than we saw at Azalea Fest, probably because there were so many people on the beach.
Mm.
The more people that you incorporate, it kind of, it's hard with everybody's emotions and energies. That's why I like smaller sky watches
That's
personally.
so sorry. Let me start. That is so interesting because I was under the impression that more might be like a greater intention, but that
Hmm.
makes it's less, not, I don't want to use the word controllable, but
Mhm.
kind of, right? Like you are in control of your vibes basically with a smaller
Mhm.
group. Just like any
Yeah,
big party, there's vibes all over the place. And if it's just
exactly.
your
And
small
everybody's
group,
having their conversations,
yeah.
and the more conversations that you have, the more you get pulled away from the experience. And then also, when you have so many people on the beach, you're going to have people that feel fearful, or maybe some skeptics that kind of bring the vibes down. So yeah, if you can skywatch with just a few people or a dozen people or less, I in my experience have found that you will get a bigger reaction than if there's hundreds of people on the beach.
Okay, love that. Sorry to stop your whole story
No,
because I'm
you're
into
good.
it.
So, my husband and I went camping, and we ended up seeing a lot of them at just a greater capacity. And I was just so overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my God, I was not prepared for this. Like, when I was with Chris, we
Mm.
saw orbs, but like, this was crazy. And they were responding to everything we were saying. And so, we went home after camping, and bless my husband's heart, he's like, I don't know if I want to do this with you
Mm.
anymore. This is just a
That was
lot
my
for
next
me.
question, how he's feeling about it all. Yeah.
Yeah, he's incredibly supportive of me, but some people just, I don't know. I don't quite know how to word it. I'm obsessed. That's what I call it. But he's like, I'm okay distancing myself from it.
Mm.
This is your thing. And he supports me in every other way. So that's really, and it's cool because it leaves a lot of room in the relationship for me to just be me. And
Hmm.
he just accepts me for who I am, which is awesome. It's more
Yeah.
than I can ask for. So after that trip, he's like, I don't really know if I want to do this anymore. So I thought, well, I want to go out and do it on my own. And so the month after that, so it was like April, sky watching with Chris, May, sky watching with my husband, June of last year, I went sky watching alone. So I went on a solo camping trip, and the first night there, I saw tons of orbs. It was a beautiful experience. I went to sleep that night. It was like a glamping tent, if you're familiar with those.
Yeah.
So it was, kind of like a large room with a bed, and, it was really nice. Well, that night after sky watching, I was laying in bed and I couldn't sleep, and I woke to something next to me. And I don't know if you want to go into that story, but
Yeah.
it was the only way that I can describe it. Well, first I was laying there. I went to bed after 4 in the morning. I had stayed
Mm.
up very late sky watching, and I'm laying there and I can't sleep. I'm laying there for a really long time, and I'm buzzing from the experience. And I hear these loud noises coming from my left hand side, which was the side of the bed I was sleeping on. So I pull down the covers and I sit up and I look to my left, and there's right next to me is this vortex of rainbow light frequencies, and it almost reminded me of like a tornado, where it was bigger at the top and it tapered down a little at the bottom. And I was just screaming. I'm like, what is that? What is that? And I'm hearing these noises, and it's so loud, and I'm screaming, and I can't even hear my own voice. It's like when you're at a concert and you're
Yeah.
screaming, singing along, but the music's so loud that like you can only really hear it in your head, it feels like.
Hmm.
And I'm just not comprehending at all what I'm hearing or what I'm seeing. I'm so confused. I'm just leaning back in the bed. It's going on for a few moments, and then after I yelled like, what is that? It slowly turned, and I saw these two piercing blue eyes looking at me through this energy field or whatever it was. And then I just screamed. I screamed until there was nothing left inside of me.
Wow.
And it reminds me a lot of what Chris and his family experience, because when
Yeah.
you experience these things, sometimes it creates this reaction inside of you because you've never seen something like this before and you don't know what's happening and you just can't even comprehend what's going on. So that happened, and I felt like my reality just broke because I'm like, this, I don't even know how to absorb this.
And you know
And
you're not dreaming. I mean, I have to ask, did you do any drugs? I mean, that's fine if you did.
I might have just smoked a little weed, but you're not going to hallucinate.
That's right. I'm just asking the questions for the people here.
Yeah, no, no, I was not taking any mushrooms or psychedelics. I was
I
wide
think
awake
that's
in
important
bed.
to note, that this
Of course.
is what happened. and I was not asleep. And yeah,
No,
wow. Okay, so
no.
you couldn't communicate with that being, or you weren't in a state to. You were just too scared.
I was just screaming. It was
Yeah.
probably a 20-second ordeal of hearing the sound, sitting up, turning, saying, "What is that? What is that?" And it just slowly turned, and its eyes were like this turquoise blue, and they were just so bright. And when I realized I was looking at a set of eyes, that's when I just screamed until there was nothing left in my lungs, and then it just disappeared. But it was, while I was watching it, I was under the impression of like, this isn't something that's just entering the room right now.
Mm.
I felt as though I was catching something as it was disappearing, which is freaky because I'm like, how long was it there? What was it doing? Obviously, nothing bad. And I couldn't sleep for like 6 months after that because I just felt
Wow.
that my nervous system was so boiling right at the surface. I would often just like try to fall asleep, but then my body would jump up.
Mm.
And it's not that I feel that there was any bad energy from this being whatsoever. It's just that when you experience something so shocking, especially in such a vulnerable state, where you should feel safe and like nothing can kind of penetrate this safe space that I have, it was really tough. But in the future, 6 months later, my friend did a hypnotic regression on me. And at that point, I saw everything from a totally different perspective. And I saw this being looking down at me and watching over me before I freaked out. So it gave me, I didn't get any clarification as to why it was there, other than that's just something I need to learn later on at the right
Okay.
time. So, but it did help me sleep better because I got to see that perspective of, okay, it was watching over
And
me.
maybe it's part of that team that you call upon to protect you, like in
Mhm.
this energy exchange that you do with the orbs. I mean, I'm assuming you do some sort of energy hygiene because,
Mhm.
or maybe not, but I feel like that would be, even if it's just to do it,
Mhm.
to make sure that only the best and the highest are communicating with me and being
Yeah.
protected from anything else, then maybe he was one of the good guys.
Yeah, I really truly believe so, and it connected to something that happened the second night that I was camping.
Okay.
And so I went out on the second night camping, and the orbs appeared, and they were like all around. It got really overwhelming at a certain point because I had to sit down, and I was like, this is crazy. And mind you, this is my only my second time without Chris sky
Hmm.
watching. So now I'm seeing them coming down and moving all around, and they were everywhere. It was very overwhelming, a beautiful experience, but just energetically, it just felt like lightheaded, like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And all of a sudden, this giant light, I don't even know how far away it was. It could have been a couple football fields away. This giant white orb appeared, and it was on the ground, and I saw it shoot up and shoot down at this incredible speed, and then it went left to right, left to right, and then it stopped, and it just beamed at me even brighter, and my whole body started shaking and vibrating like electricity was going through me. And I remember thinking in that moment, whatever I'm looking at, I feel like it's straight from heaven. It was the brightest light I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was just in the pitch black darkness. And you can ask yourself, like, oh, was it a vehicle or
Mm.
whatever? But where I was this huge prairie, is where I was camping at. And it's a designated dark sky area as well.
Okay,
So
cool.
there's like basically no light pollution there at all. But yeah, you can ask yourself, well, was it a vehicle? And I would say that no, because what I saw with my eyes was this orb of light shooting up and down and left to right. And anyway, when it beamed at me and I felt these vibrations go through me, and I was just shaking like a wet chihuahua.
Oh my gosh.
I
Does
felt
it
this.
feel good or uncomfortable, different? I mean,
It felt no negative feelings whatsoever.
okay.
It felt like energy just shooting through my body, just head to toe, uncontrollable shaking. And I felt this message come through of, you need to share this with people. You need to teach people how to do this, help them build their own connection. And then it disappeared. But then throughout the night, it would come back. And I even have my own videos that maybe I'll share one day. They're, a little personal and close to my heart, but like the immediate moments after this, I took my phone out and was just filming, and I'm like, I think I see the orb again, the orb that just beamed me a few minutes ago. If that was you, can you give me a sign, or can you get brighter? And then I was startled because over to my left, these two giant orbs appeared. And it's like they're connected everywhere, and they speak to you through everything. And shortly after that, I had to go to the bathroom. So I'm walking, I don't know, maybe 100 feet or so over to where the building is, where the bathrooms are. And when I come out, this giant orb is underneath a tree that was probably about 50 yards away. I'm looking at it, and I take my phone out and I'm filming it, and it's just under the tree on the left side, just going like this. And you
I want
can
to see that
hear
video.
you, maybe I'll send it to you,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
I
one of
got the
those where like
exclusive.
I haven't put it on the internet yet, because there's a lot of videos that I have
Yeah.
not put out there, because they are just something that I'm like, I this is too special to me to put out there and be scrutinized or picked apart by
Sure.
people. But you can hear in the background all of the coyotes going crazy in the distance. You can hear birds going crazy, and it's the middle of the night. It's right after midnight.
And so other campers, you just don't, they're,
There was not a lot of people there at this time because it was the summer and it gets very hot and
I was
muggy in Florida, but
gonna
there
say dune
was,
camping, you're quite
yeah,
adventurous.
there was one RV that in the video you can see just like the little floodlights, or not even floodlights, but just little lights that are on their RV. I mean, but they were packed up and in bed. And I mean, yeah, that's the crazy thing, is that these campers have no idea what's going on around them.
Hmm.
You know, if they just
Hmm.
walked outside, they'd be like, whoa.
Or when you were screaming, nobody's, thank goodness you're
I
okay.
I went to the glamping tent next to me the next morning, and it was like a young couple, and I was like, and I actually had my dog with me, and my dog didn't react at all the whole time I was screaming. It
Because
wasn't
it's
an
like you don't see this all the time. I see we're buddies. We hang out
I
all the
know,
time. That's what
I
the
know.
dog's saying.
And there's been a lot of times in the past, like more paranormal type experiences where my dog has been around, and
Mm.
she will like look at something that I'm seeing, but she doesn't like freak out. I think that she's a higher being in a dog's
Yeah.
body,
Is
basically.
she scared of storms?
No, not at all.
No.
No,
She's chill.
really chill,
That's
yeah.
good.
But I went to the tent next to me the next morning, and I had my dog. So, of course, like my dog ran up, and they were loving on my dog. And I was like, by the way, I just want to apologize if you guys heard me scream. I just had a bad dream, or whatever the excuse was. And then they were like, no, we didn't hear anything, which is also very weird because I have never screamed so loud in my entire life. Is it plausible that perhaps they could have just been sleeping and not heard? Of course. But I just think it's really interesting that I could barely hear myself when I was screaming. And then also the tent next to me didn't hear anything
Part of me
either.
thinks it's plausible they hit the mute button on you somehow. Yeah, like you're doing
Yeah.
it, but yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was very, very weird. So, yeah, that was really the huge experience that changed the trajectory of my life, where I'm like, I don't want to have a normal job. I can't think about anything else. How
mm,
can I function in this world knowing that there are higher dimensional beings that want to communicate with us, that love us, they want to guide us? And if you just open your heart and your mind to their guidance, you will see in your daily life the little things on how they help you. I mean, even driving in traffic the other day, I was driving, I'm going 40, 45, 48 miles per hour. And, they have these medians in the middle of the road where you can kind of, bang a U-ey and go into
hmm.
the other direction of traffic. And so I saw this big truck coming through, and I heard a voice in my head say, he's not going to stop. And he almost hit me. And I had to slam on my brakes, and there was almost a very serious collision there. But again, if you just open up your heart and your mind to this phenomenon, they want to be in your life. They want to connect with you. And yeah, those were just the really big experiences that started me on this journey. I'm like, I quit my job back in March. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with the real world anymore.
Okay.
Started my YouTube channel because I'm like, how can I connect with more people and get these
Hmm.
messages out there and share this with the world? So started making videos, and I just really, really want to help people have their own experiences with the orbs. but not only that, have a better connection with themselves and with God too, because it's not just an orb phenomenon, it's
Right.
within your heart and with your connection with God as well.
And all of it is connected, is what I'm hearing
Exactly.
you say. You know,
Exactly.
the nature that we live in to the water we drink, I've recently figured
Hmm.
out. You know,
Hmm.
wow. Okay, so that is amazing that you're like, I'm going to figure out the money thing later. You know,
Yeah.
the job situation will come, and I'm really excited to witness your journey and see where it takes you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for telling your story and getting to sit here and I get to meet you. I think that's so exciting. We're definitely going to hang out at the Psy Games,
Oh, yeah.
and you're going to teach me everything you know. We're going to see some orbs. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate you giving me this opportunity to share my story. I know that it's a lot. Sometimes I can go on and on about this stuff, but
Well, I guess before you go, I do have a question about how do you bridge the gap from being terrified for 6 months to being ready to fully embrace it? I mean, I know you had the regression, but to me, that's very significant that it feels like it's your calling rather than something that happened to you. And I don't mean to cut off the end here, but that was like weighing on me. I was like, I want to dive into that a little bit deeper.
yeah, so after that happened, I like in my mind, I felt that I'm not fearful, but it's as if there was something that my body was really holding on to. So that's why it was really
Mm,
difficult for me to sleep because I'm trying to quiet my mind and lay there and go to bed, but like my nervous system and my body just kept jumping up.
okay.
And there was just something that I really had to release there. But if anybody is fearful, I just want them to know don't be fearful. The fear is only coming from just a lack of understanding of what it is. And I think a little bit of feeling as if it's outside of your control. And that gets very scary, you know, especially with a phenomenon like this. You're like, well, I don't want them to abduct me, or I don't want them
Mm,
to show up next to my bed. And, you know, I want people to know that. I volunteered for this. When I prayed to them, I said, I want to do this. I want to see you. I want to see you as an entity. I want to see you as an orb. So it's, in a sense, my own fault
no,
because I
but you were
opened.
sovereign in that. You wanted the experience. Yeah.
Yes. So there has been plenty of times, especially in the beginning when I was a little nervous or trying to work through that fear of like, oh my God, is something going to jump out of the bushes
Mm,
right now? Where I would communicate to them and say, I'm feeling a little nervous. Please don't do anything that will scare me. And that's what I recommend for people too. Again, it's building a communication, it's building a relationship. They don't want to scare you.
yeah.
And I'm not super well versed in the Bible, but from what I've been told in the Bible, when angels appear to people, these people are scared because the angels
Mm,
aren't really described as necessarily beautiful. And what do the angels say? They say, fear not, because it's just a part of our DNA to be fearful of things that we've never seen before or we don't understand or can't control. So communicate with them, let them know where your head and your heart is at. Say, I don't want you getting too close. I don't want you jumping out of the bushes or taking me or whatever.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They don't want to scare you. They want to connect with you
That's a
and
great message.
yeah.
Yes. When that beam of light up and down, back and forth vibrated your whole being, did you feel like any changes happened for you after that? Like you were what they were doing, upgrading your DNA? I don't know. Do you have any insight into that?
I always wondered, and I also wondered that about the entity that was next to me in the tent
Oh yeah.
is was it maybe putting in knowledge or information to unlock later down the road? Was it maybe upgrading or building a stronger connection between us? And I do feel different. There are even times now when I skywatch where I feel different because I'm still evolving spiritually.
Hmm.
It's a never-ending game of leveling up, so to speak, right? And
Right.
so even recently, a few weeks ago, I had an incredibly profound skywatch. The first time ever, I got down on my knees and was just so overwhelmed and crying. And I'm like, why? Why do we have this connection? what is it about this? Like, why has my life become like this? And I heard you were chosen for this. And I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? Did I agree to this before I entered this lifetime? And then I saw an orb illuminate. So I thought, okay, yeah, that maybe that's it. And then here's a funny part. Then I heard a message come through that said, now get up. So I got up off of my knees, and when I walked over to my camera, there was the low battery light on my camera. So I felt like they were letting me know, like, girl, get up and change out this battery because there is still a show going on. We know you're appreciative and grateful. We get it now. Like, get to business here.
Right. You don't need to grovel here at our feet.
Even as time goes on, I feel a really strong connection with the messages coming through. So I definitely encourage people to be open to that because a lot of times these messages will even feel like it's in your own voice. But like, when something pops into your mind that you're like, was that my thought? Was that something that they're putting in my mind? And, for the listeners, if you want to incorporate that into your life and be open to receiving messages, I think that you'll start to feel these messages come through. And over time, if you follow your gut and listen to these messages and this guidance, then it'll just become so obvious to you over time, like, okay, that's them communicating with me. And it's not like I walk around in my day-to-day life having conversations with them. It's few and far between. But maybe you can work on that and build that connection to where you're having pretty open communication with them.
I think that's a great, and to your point, what I'm also getting from this, sorry, if you see my arm, my dog is just wanting constant
Aw.
attention right now.
I get that. My dogs are the same.
I'm
I had
like,
to, I had to lock them up for this because I knew that they would be up my butt.
exactly. I'm like, dude, you have other family members in this house. I'm not the only one here. Okay, we said that and he walked away. So, but what personally I'm working on, and this conversation is right on time as usual, is to not label things. And one of my teachers has always said when we'll do meditations together, and she's like, "There's a being here, and I think they're here for you. Do you sense them?" And we play this game. Where I'm like, today, not really. Can you give me any insight? You feel like, what are you talking about? And then other times I'm like, okay, now that you mention it, and we describe like the texture and how it feels and maybe it's like how it feels. And she encourages me to not put, it's not an alien, it's not an angel, it's not a spirit guide. She's like, does it really matter? If they're here to support you, like, let's do away with the labels, and then I think that'll enrich your life more.
Hmm.
And so that's what I'm hearing you also say, because I think what you're talking about, often people would say alien, extraterrestrial, or angel, or, I mean, it just doesn't matter. I mean,
Right.
we could call it Orby number five, like that, and it's more, whatever, right? So I think that's great. And then practicing listening, I mean, to little things for me, like if I hear, don't forget your umbrella, and there's no rain in the forecast, and I don't bring my umbrella, later I'll be like, oh my gosh, why didn't I listen? I could very
Mhm.
much use my umbrella right now. And if you start practicing listening, and then everything just sort of unfolds in amazing ways, and noticing those things, it's not you remembering your umbrella. It's that you had that little thing in the back of your head that told you to bring the umbrella. So that's just a random, like, real life example, but that's the type of constant communication I'm always in.
Mhm.
And don't think about it being like, I don't know who that is. Sometimes I think it's just me on a higher level. And
Yeah,
maybe
I always
that could be
wonder.
some of the orbs. Maybe you're communicating with your higher self in some
Yeah,
instances.
I wonder that too is are you communicating with your higher self when you get these messages? Or maybe it's them, dropping little divine messages in. I think some people could also call it intuition. But again, it's like all of these different labels we're
Where does
throwing.
that come from? Neuroscience says that's not like a place in your brain. It's coming from somewhere. So
It is, yeah.
the cool thing is that you don't have to have all the answers. You get to play and
Oh,
connect,
yeah.
and yeah,
It's a lot of fun learning this crazy life that we're in and what the
it's
hell
so
is
cool.
going on.
That's right. And to me, just tapping into the fun and everything's not so serious is like everything, right? That
Yeah.
inner child you talked about is so
Don't take
important.
it too seriously. Just have fun, enjoy life. You'll get messages and really cool experiences along the way and I think that you'll just start to notice really beautiful positive change that doesn't even necessarily feel like it involves the orbs. Just, you had a really good day, or you got a promotion at work, or a new opportunity to
Hmm.
move somewhere. and just a lot of beautiful blessings will enter your life just by doing this.
Helps you tap into that
Sure.
flow maybe too. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Kory, thank you so much. I
Yeah.
can't wait to talk again sometime. Let's let this not be our last. And as
Oh,
you
yeah.
evolve with your YouTube and your journey, I want to hear more.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on and sharing this experience. And I hope that someone can just have a takeaway from this and just feel inspired to start their own journey and hopefully see
I'd
some
say as
cool
far
stuff.
as takeaway goes, we've got our work cut out for us. It's awesome. There's so many. Give me a good to-do list, and I'm right there. Like this is amazing. It's like the whole
Yeah.
roadmap. It's fun. So maybe that's what the follow-up episode is. Maybe well, I'll practice it, and then I can come back and you can help me dissect some of my experiences. That would be neat.
Yeah, and we'll go skywatching at the side game. So, we'll get to utilize this practice and put it
Let's
to
do a
good
live
use.
episode, right? That would be
Ooh,
something.
that would be really cool. Yeah. But yeah, this was so
Awesome.
much fun. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to meet you just in a couple of months. It's going to be a great time.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you later.
All right.